slides to walk through. So we're actually going to be doing a sprint simulation today. So I've got some materials down here that at some point I'll get your chosen Scrum Master after you divide it into teams to come down and grab. So we're going to actually run a sprint simulation today. We kind of gamify the whole process a little bit. We're going to do a planning cycle. So you'll come down, whoever you choose, Scrum Master will come down, get a kit of information. There's going to be stories inside of there, post-it notes, some instructions, a little bit of a floor plan around the renovation project we're doing, some planning cards that we use for voting on the story size. So we'll do about 20 minutes in planning where you'll sort of size up the story to the best of your ability using the poker planning cards, and then take about 10 minutes or so to work out the tasks and the estimated time for that. And then you're going to run through an actual sprint. You're going to do a day's work, and you'll have, as part of that day's work, you'll do a daily scrum. You'll talk about what you did the day before, what you're planning on working on today, just within your own teams. And then you'll do the daily work, and that involves rolling a dice. I'll explain how all that works in a minute. And at the end of it, we'll do a bit of a sprint review. We'll find out how many people managed to complete even one story on the board, or how many stories. Have a little bit of a conversation about that. And then for the retrospective, we'll make it more of a group discussion. I'm really curious about, what your takeaways will be from this, what we learned, what we picked up, the things that you uncovered by going through this process. This is just a simulation. It's pretty rapid fire, done in a very short, compact time frame. So if you think about it in the terms of real world Scrum, literally just the very tip of the iceberg is what we're going to cover off today. But it should give you some fundamental skills that you can take away at the end of the day. So we'll get you to gather shortly in teams of 5, as much as possible. If there's, maybe one team of 4, one team of 6, it doesn't matter too much. Just keep it in around that 5. Once you've organized into the teams, pick one person to be the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master won't actually be doing any work that day, but the Scrum Master is going to roll the dice to figure out what impediments you're going to run into. Once you pick the Scrum Master, they can come down and grab one of these materials packages and take up to you. I'm going to be the product owner, so if you have any questions involving any of the stories of the projects, your Scrum Master can come and ask me, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. The goal for the sprint is to complete this kitchen renovation. Realistically, can we do that much work in a 5-day sprint? Probably not, but see how many stories you can figure out and load onto your board to fill up that 5 days worth of work. During the planning, you're going to assign story points to each story. It's your chance to ask if you have any questions about the stories. I think I wrote them fairly clearly. They were actually driven by my wife initially a few years ago when we renovated our kitchen, so it's as clear as I could get there. As you finish voting and you put in your story points, write them in on the upper corner of the board. There's some blue sticky tack in the package. You can just take a little dot of that and stick it on the board in the stories column. And then you'll put your, as you work out your tasks, figure out the timing for the tasks, you'll put them in the to-do column. And then once you actually start working, whoever is going to work on a given task, they'll put their initials on the task and move it in the doing column on each day's worth of work. So at the end, if time permits, depending on how things go, I'll try to ask for 3 teams to volunteer as to how their sprint went, how much they were able to complete. And then in retrospective, that'll just be a bigger discussion where we kind of unpack it all so that you can raise questions, talk about things you bumped into, just open forum general discussion. And then at the end, you don't need to worry, this is the last class. That last bullet was more for the class previous to you to get it packaged up so I could get it up to you quickly again. But you can just bring down all the supplies and throw them in this box. So we'll be good to go there. Yeah, we don't need to worry about that. So voice of the customer, we're doing a full kitchen remodel. We need the easy to clean floor. There's a story around that. We're going to cut a wall down and make it a countertop that we can sit at. So the dining room wall is going to get cut in half. We're going to have new cabinets underneath a window because we're losing cabinetry when we cut that wall down. We're actually going to swap the stove and the sink locations, and we're going to build a pantry beside the refrigerator. So the complete stories for each one of these are in the kits. Also, this sketch will be in your kit. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. We're going to put the cabinets down underneath this bay window. We're going to move the stove from where it is over to the sink and move the sink over to the new position. There's some wiring when we cut this wall down. There's a light switch there we're going to have to move down to the end. And the pantry's going over by the refrigerator and the whole floor. As you're planning it out, think about the logical order you would want to do something like this in as much as possible. Because I haven't prioritized the stories for you. I'm a bad product owner. I'm supposed to come in and say this is number 1, 2, 3. I'm going to let you guys figure that out a little bit. I want you to, because this is a learning exercise, and as well every Scrum thing that you do in your life going forward, there's always a whole bunch of unknowns. So the unknown, one of the big unknowns today is what order should we do these things in? So I'll let you guys figure that out as we're going through. And I mentioned there's going to be unplanned events. At the beginning of each day of work, each 3-minute day of work, the Scrum Master is going to roll the dice. And depending on the number that comes up on that dice, and I'll leave the screen up for you after we've started, one of these things is going to happen. They roll a number 1, one person is sick. Number 2, one person's tools were stolen, so you cut your hours in half. Number 3, no unplanned events. Number 4, pipes cut, floods the area, no work for an entire day, so you lose an entire day of production. 5, no unplanned events. And then number 6, the top story that you're currently working on. So say you've already completed your top story and you're now working on your second story. That story, the materials didn't show up. So you've got to cut your hours in half for any members that are working on that particular story. So this is just to give you an idea of, like in the real world, stuff's going to happen. There's another word we use other than stuff, without politeness, we call it stuff today. Stuff will happen that's going to disrupt what you can accomplish in your week. So this will just help formulate that in your head as you're going forward. So what you want to try to do is build a little bit of a buffer into your sprint to try and account for that. But not too much of a buffer, right? You don't want to just have one story in there and you complete it, you've got half a day left to go. Oops. Just get back up there. I'll leave that unplanned events thing up. So what I'll do now is I will ask you to organize in teams of 5. Send your Scrum Masters down to get the board. Once everybody's got a board, I'm going to set a timer on my watch for 10 minutes so you can start your planning work. I'll give you a couple of minutes to take a look at the instructions, and then I'll start the timer for 10 minutes to let you know, at the end of the 10 minutes, you should be finished voting. And then you can do 10 minutes worth of tasking and carry on. All righty? Organizing the teams.
Yo.